Hello Canada, welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias the guy. Well, I had to take a few day hiatus there, a little bit sick. This laryngitis is back and forth, and we had some personal issues going on. That aside, hopefully this is starting to heal and I can get back to my daily routine of giving you guys the truth. Sorry, so sorry, just the truth. Just the facts. We've had a lot going on here. We're going to kind of dive in mostly on this whole wildfire, Wuhan, just complete removal of Canadian rights. Dabble on, so we'll start off with China just announced more tariffs on the West, and the East don't care. The federal government doesn't care, which we're just going to prove today. From there, like I try to always do, I'm going to slowly weave through the realities, just kind of exposing the complete insanity of what Canada is. Now, this whole land settlement, I will be dealing with this in a future episode. Of course, since I didn't have a voice, and as normal, I read. I've been reading over the hundreds of pages, trying to make sense of this legalese. People are like losing their minds over this. And most of the people that I've been watching on independent media outlets, there's only been a few that have actually kind of been trying to calm the fires and put a little bit of reality into what this case actually says. Yes, there are problems with it, but please, calm down, relax. We will be showing that there were actual dominoes that fell years ago that have led to this. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of different independents who have jumped on this, and they're screaming. And a lot of people, of course, being not informed correctly, are screaming civil war. Now, personally, Canada's never had a civil war. It's half the reason we're in the descent we're in. Justice has never been brought to our country in order to force true freedom, which is why the courts are settling the way they are. Let's just start off with this whole announcement that dropped on the prairies today, especially hitting Saskatchewan.
Morning, it is 8:30. China this morning has announced a preliminary anti-dumping duty on Canadian canola imports. It'll have a major impact on this province. Colton Prale is standing by following this for us. Colton?
Yeah, Daryl, bad news for canola farmers today. What many feared was coming has now officially arrived. Almost a 76% anti-dumping duty on canola seed. Obviously, farmers and all of your viewers will be keenly aware of what happened earlier this spring in March, where we saw China impose 100% duties on not only canola meal, but canola oil. And that represents about 20% of all canola products that are exported to China. China is the third largest market for Canadian exports of canola products. It takes in about $5 billion of goods on average over the last couple of years, 4.9 in 2024. And the real concern, the real fear was that these anti-dumping duties would apply to canola seed. And we are seeing that. And that's important because of that almost $5 billion in exports, $4 billion of that is the seed itself. And it's almost 76%, 75.8. This is essentially the Chinese market saying, we don't want Canadian canola. And that's a huge problem for farmers in Canada, but it also speaks to the growing challenge that exists for this country and the weight and the brunt of the trade war that is being borne by individual sectors. If you think about the trade war with the United States, we know that the largest damages have been sectoral specific. The steel and aluminum sector in Ontario and Quebec, for example, has been dealing with a vast majority of the economic brunt of this trade dispute.
Now listen carefully to how CTV, I'm going to expose them for what they are, as always. But just hear this out and listen carefully. And in the end, once you're done watching this, you may want to actually go back to the beginning and re-watch this clip. Propaganda.
But what we also saw was Canada trying to align some of its policies with the United States in order to be closer and try to mend some gaps, mend some bridges in order to find a solution to that trade war. And some of those policies that were shifted included adding additional Canadian tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, on Chinese steel, and Chinese aluminum. And what we saw was the Chinese respond, first with those rapeseed oil and canola meal tariffs at 100% anti-dumping duties, and now the big one affecting canola seed in general. And what we're seeing is really canola farmers, but Canada being in a rock and a hard place, aligning trade policy with the U.S. in order to minimize the brunt of that trade war is leaving us vulnerable and exposed on the other side. It's leaving us vulnerable and exposed to Chinese retaliation, and the impact of that trade front is primarily being felt in Saskatchewan. There are calls right now on the government to provide financial assistance to try to bolster the domestic canola market, whether that's through increased biofuels or aviation. But either way, this is going to have a massive, massive impact on an industry that has about 40,000 farmers in it. And as you know, the vast majority located in Saskatchewan. We'll see how the federal government responds to this, but for now, it's just another example of the sectoral hurt that is being caused by these wider disputes between Canada and the U.S., and now between Canada and China. Daryl?
Now, where is the mention of the tariffs on our fishing sector and seafood produce? Where is the mention that Canada wasn't forced to put 100% tariff on Chinese EVs? It was in cahoots with the Biden administration, who at the same time were pushing the same type of, green ideological lunacy on its citizens, which Canada, by the way, still hasn't reneged on. They're still going to take away your gas and diesel powered cars. You will own nothing, you will be happy. This is corporate takeover, people. This is Kyoto 2.0. This is the greenwashing. This is greedy corporations who own politicians, who through the politicians set legislations and regulations to crush the people from their freedoms, from their God-given rights. I don't care what God you believe in, creator or whoever. Your rights. Something in Canada we lose more and more every day, which we're going to get into with this whole fire thing once again. No mention. They make it sound like Canada was forced to put the tariffs on Chinese EVs. No, we weren't. This was a negotiation between lunatics who decided that because they were investing billions upon billions of your taxpayer dollars to supplement and try to, use your tax dollars to make these auto companies filthy, stinking rich, now is backfiring. We're going to put some reality into this, and Scott Moe is going to do it with a reality check to the rest of Canada.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us here this morning. Just by way of starting, I will offer a few comments, and I would say I am extremely disappointed with respect to the decision that the country of China has made in further increasing their temporary tariffs on our canola seeds, which will add to the existing tariffs on canola oil and meal. This is a response to the government's tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles largely, and China's decision to impose preliminary anti-dumping duties, or what we would call temporary tariffs, is set at 75.8%. That's on Canadian canola seed as of August the 14th, this Thursday. That will have a devastating impact on the price points for Saskatchewan's canola industry, and I would say ultimately Saskatchewan's ag producers. So let me be clear that this hit will stop a significant amount of trade that is flowing into China today. This comes on top of the decision that China made in March of this year to impose 100% tariffs on Canadian canola oil, canola meal, as well as pea imports, and added to that some pork and seafood exports as well.
Jeez, it's funny. That's a Canadian talking. He doesn't exclude anything. He throws it down as it is.
Beijing has also announced an anti-dumping probe for Canadian imports of pea starch, of which they will be working on in the weeks and months into the future. That is another potential impact for Western Canadian ag producers that we just simply can't withstand at this moment. This announcement, and I would say that the timing of this announcement is in particularly hard on our ag producers in this province and across Canada, as they are hard at work starting their harvest procedures and getting their harvest underway. We've estimated about 12 million acres of canola is seeded in Saskatchewan just this year, and the Canadian canola industry is about $43 to $45 billion each and every year. That is responsible, that industry, for over 200,000 jobs, Canadian jobs, and with China accounting for about a third of our exports, the United States of America would be about 40% of said exports. They total about $5 billion. China's exports total about $5 billion annually, much of that coming from our province of Saskatchewan. To put this in context, this $43 to $45 billion canola industry, the Canadian canola industry that we have, employing just over 200,000 people.
Listen carefully, Eastern Canada.
That is significantly larger than the steel industry, the aluminum industry, and the car manufacturing industry combined. It's about the same size as the Canadian forestry industry, of which we saw significant supports for just this past week. Each of those industries, the steel, the aluminum, and the EV industry, have also been hit hard by U.S. tariffs, as has our forestry industry been hit hard by U.S. tariffs. But canola producers hit with these Chinese tariffs, I would say that they deserve the same attention by our federal government and our Prime Minister as we're seeing in other industries. And we are asking that this be dealt with immediately. And I've reached out to the Prime Minister this morning, and I expect I'll be speaking with him at some point later today. As has our Agriculture Minister reached out to his counterpart, and our Trade Minister talking to his counterpart. We've been asking our federal government and Prime Minister Carney to engage at the highest level since the federal election. And for over a year now, we've been asking the federal government to engage with China and start the advancement of those conversations to find our way to a solid and secure trade environment moving forward. The Prime Minister, in fairness, has started those conversations, meeting with the Prime Minister of China, and I would say most certainly now that the next step is for the Prime Minister to meet with the President of China, and I'll be expressing the urgency and the need for that meeting to happen when we talk at the next opportunity. We need immediate action on this file. This is a significant Canadian industry, as I say, about comparable in size to the Canadian forestry industry and much larger than the steel, aluminum, and EV industry combined. We are engaging with every opportunity that we have. We are engaging at all levels with ministers engaging with their counterparts, not only in the federal government, but in provinces across Canada. We have meetings planned with Chinese representatives for later this week. And we've been actively engaged on this issue since before even these tariffs were announced, and even prior to the tariffs on canola oil and meal, which were announced this spring. I would say this. We are faced, not only in Saskatchewan, but in Canada and many countries around the world, in an ever-changing geopolitical environment. Our trade relationships around the world are very, very fluid, and they're changing rapidly, changing by the day in some cases. And so collectively, I would say that we as Canadians, we need to very much focus on taking care of Canadians at every level of government. We as Canadians also, and I would say that our federal government cannot sacrifice a $43 billion canola industry, 200,000 jobs in that industry, that is largely based, in fairness, in Western Canada, to protect a fledgling electric vehicle industry, largely based in Eastern Canada.
Oh, and then let's not forget the reality of how the Liberals treat Western Canada.
And as a follow-up, could I get your reaction to the jobs reports, loss of 41,000 jobs, worse than expected? Thank you.
Sure. A couple of things. One is that obviously we look very closely at developments in the labor market. We had a very strong job report in June, over 80,000 jobs created. We now have the July jobs reduction of just over 40,000. What's interesting about, if you look across those areas, the geographic spread is in the July report is more in Western Canada. It's in Alberta and Saskatchewan. In the July report is more in Western Canada. It's in Alberta and Saskatchewan. In the July report is more in Western Canada. It's in Alberta and Saskatchewan.
Maybe because you have done squat. He has done zero to try and help the West. We need out. We need to flush Turd 2.0 and the Eastern regime. This is getting out of hand. There have been zero talks going on with China. They've been too busy trying to save the minuscule industries out east. Now, I've warned on previous episodes that this government is the death to the auto industry. Those areas, those ridings, who did they vote for? These schmucks. You shoot yourself in the foot. There is nothing us independent media outlets can do to help you if you won't listen to the truth. This EV mandate is the destruction of your auto industry. As for the steel and aluminum sectors, we have that out here too. So we're hurting on that front as well. But you don't see him touring our steel plants. No. Because as a electoral a riding, we don't account to jack crap. He doesn't care about Western Canada. None of these Liberals care about Western Canada. Back to Mo.
Is there any form of assistance or any sort of financial assistance or whatever assistance for canola farmers here?
Second question that will be asked of the Prime Minister and the federal government is we saw significant assistance coming in the way of the forestry industry just this past week. This industry is similar in size, and I would say at least similar in the jobs that are provided. And so that would be the second question that we will have. First question is how do we put our federal government in a position where we can have that conversation with the country of China and the president of China to have these tariffs lifted. Thus, that support wouldn't be needed. And if that can't happen in the near term, we are going to be asking for support similar in scope to what we've seen in the forestry industry most recently. Sorry.
Do you take the Chinese ambassador, who was making the rounds not too long ago, and basically, it's, at least if you listen to him, it seems like they're very serious about a growing trade relationship with Canada. Do you take them do you believe that's the case? From what you've observed in your conversations?
Well, listen, this is not our first experience with non-financial tariffs or financial tariffs from a country like China or other countries around the world. Why we have a presence in many of those countries is to support our Canadian trade relations in said country. That being said, I was under the impression, and I feel the federal government as well, and the industry was under the impression that we were progressing in those discussions with China on the responsive tariffs on canola oil and canola meal. And so Although we knew the anti-dumping study was happening and that this could happen and likely would happen at some point, I was hopeful that the discussions that were happening that had started through Prime Minister Carney had extended to various ministers, as well as the officials within the government of Saskatchewan working not only with the ambassador from China, but with officials from the government of China. I was hoping that this could be avoided. That doesn't appear to be the case this morning, and now so there's a shift in tone and a shift in urgency in the work that needs to happen in the days and weeks ahead. And we need to come together as provincial and affected provincial and national leaders, the industry, producers, as well as the exporters. And we need to plan out how our engagement is going to look in the days ahead. And that engagement isn't only with the country of China. Every decision, as we see the United States of America shifting and changing trade relationships with over 100 countries around the world, every decision that is being made in international relations today not only has a direct impact with that country, but is proving to have indirect impacts with peripheral countries that are important to the province of Saskatchewan, as I remind everyone that we export to over 160 countries around the world.
Wow. What happened to the existential threat that the East fell for? I mean, Parliament's closed. Polyev said he wouldn't have any days off until the trade negotiations were fixed, not only with Trump, but with China. Zero media coverage. Instead, they pumped up Carney and the fascist failure Liberal government, who are all the same people. And where's Carney during this existential threat?
Are you getting good value for the money you pay for government? Think of the services that you get from government. Are they top-notch? Are they gold standard? Do you brag to your friends and family about them? I'm sorry for laughing, but the answer is obviously no. The Fraser Institute did great work the other day where they point out in their annual report that we are paying more in taxes than we are for food, clothing, and shelter and housing combined. We're paying more in taxes than we are for food, clothing, and shelter. That's from 3 various levels of government, so municipal, provincial, and federal. It's a disgusting waste of money. I'm going to zero in on the federal here, and I want to kick this off with pointing it out that Prime Minister Mark Carney is taking vacation again. This is an email that was sent out to the Parliamentary Press Gallery. Let's just read it together. To all Press Gallery members, while remaining in the National Capital Region and surrounding area, the Prime Minister will be on a reduced schedule in the week of August the 11th, that's today, to reflect a brief period of local vacation. As he does so, he will remain in close coordination with his team and officials on several economic and security priorities for the weeks ahead. Media advisories will be distributed should any public events arise during this time. Best PMO team. PMO stands for Prime Minister's Office, for folks who aren't huge political nerds. Now, granted, Prime Minister is a human being. Human beings, if you can, should try to take a vacation, especially when the weather is good, okay? We get that. But a couple of things. One, Prime Minister Mark Carney already did take a vacation earlier this summer. And 2, this is where we get down to value for money and keeping promises and being accountable. Folks might remember that during the national election campaign, we were hearing all sorts of things like, oh, by Canada Day, I think it was, we're going to get rid of interprovincial trade barriers and problems. Okay, number one, anyone who's worked in government knows that that was a really silly promise to try to make, because actually most of the interprovincial trade barriers we have in Canada are with the provinces themselves.
Correct.
So we do have some issues with the feds getting their nose in there and screwing things up for interprovincial trade, but a lot of it is actually on the provincial governments themselves. So
for the most part, they just like adding their tax to all of the little disputes and things that the provinces have forced each other to tariff and tax amongst themselves. They just like taking their little piece of the pie. Now, I'm going to get back to Mo.
Going back to the wildfires, New Brunswick and New Nova Scotia announced certain measures to prevent walking, like people from walking into forests due to wildfires. Are there also some announcements, measures here for campers and for hikers?
No. No, I don't know how you do that here with respect to people walking in the bush that we have. I was in La Loche yesterday, and people live in the bush. They're going to walk in the bush, and they need to, go to town at times, whether it be on whatever it is. We've done, some temporary measures with respect to, quads and campfires that, and that was under a time when we were extremely dry. And out of the first couple hundred fires that we had in this province, they were largely being lit by human activity, not intentional human activity all of the time. However, some of it is, but being lit nevertheless by human activity. And so we had made some measures earlier with respect to campfires and quads. But as far as hiking or some of the other measures that are being taken, we have no intention and have had no discussion with respect to that. And it does look, at least in the northwestern part of the province, that there's some rain going to be falling in the near future, and we hope that's the case.
Now, this whole lunacy of banning walking. A lot of people were jumping the gun and they were like, oh, everybody out east is... Okay, no. It all started with Nova Scotia and then escalated, but ended on Newfoundland, Labrador. They didn't succumb to the Wuhan virus. Let's take a little bit of a listen to, at least there's some, brain activity in this party.
Thank you, Dr. Fitzgerald. I just want to make one further comment. I forgot to mention when this all started last week, we said we would continue to look at all options, how to protect Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. And now, given the fact that we still continue to have more wildfires as we continue to battle the ones that already exist, fortunately, we've been able to do a good job on a number of them, including the ones in Labrador, of course, and maintaining the one in Holyrood. We do continuously look at what other steps need to be taken. And as I said, as more fires continue to crop up, there is only a finite number of assets, not only in this province, but in the country. So we are working with Jamie's department to make sure that if there's any other steps we feel that need to be taken, we will, and that does include looking at the risk of ATVs. Is it one of the reasons that fires are starting? So we've asked for that extra bit of, review of that aspect, and we'll have more to say about it in the future in the event that any other further steps need to be taken. But we'll be in touch on that one for sure.
Now, there are a few stats out there. I'm not even going to show them to you, because they're all hypothetical. Some of them say less than 0.1%, some of them say 5%. Fires started with ATVs. I've noticed in a lot of these studies, they're missing huge factors. Now, anybody who has mowed the grass and has a riding lawnmower will attain to the fact that during dry years, if you're trying to cut high grass and it's fairly dry, the pulleys alone getting bunched up with grass will start a fire. I've had it happen to me. I look out for these things because of experience. On a couple of these so-called surveys, they didn't even mention mowing the grass. So I'm not going to post stats that are, again, hypothetical. There's no way for them to actually have a good scientific look without facts. And how do you know? We've seen water bottles with a little wee bit of water in a plastic bottle light a fire. I mean, these fires can be started 1,000 ways. What we do know is that arson is at an all-time high. It's an all-time high. Instead of fining, because do you think these people are going to have $150,000 to fine, to pay? Do you really? Why not do the opposite? Why not give $150,000 and a protection to anybody who gives tips to busting those lighting fires, only if it comes through with a conviction, and protect that person as a whistleblower? Because that's the problem in this day and age. Our government has reversed the tables. They like you whistleblowing for them. They don't like you whistleblowing for yourself or for your country. Complete reverse mentality. Fascist mentality. Now, listen carefully and tell me, where have you heard this before?
To the people of New Brunswick who have been following the directives that we issued on Saturday. And I want to recognize all of the municipalities, the nonprofit organizations, event organizers who have partnered with us to communicate to their neighbors, to their residents, to their clients, and to their attendees, and who have made adjustments to their plans in the best interest of keeping our province safe and reducing the risk of forest fires.
Let's just replace that with the spread of Wuhan.
It's heartening to see that we all want to take care of each other and protect these forests that
our grandparents,
we think of as so close to our identity here in New Brunswick. I'll echo Minister Gauvin's comments. Now is not the time for fire tourism.
Now is not the time for what? Having dinner with your parents or a funeral?
Been people who have wanted to get that great picture for social media, but we need to keep our roads and our emergency areas as clear as possible so that the people responding to fight these fires can do their jobs. So please, if you don't need to be out, don't be out on the roads and trails where the emergency responders need to get access. I want you to continue to do the things that your local communities and firefighters are asking you to do, as Minister Gauvin said, to be ready in the case of things getting worse. Je veux aussi,
and don't forget to mask up. And if you don't take that fire pokey poke and stay home and stay out of the forest, well, we're going to charge you. This has nothing to do with forest fires. This is all control. That's all these people care about. And then she drops a reality shot nearing the end of this presser. Listen carefully. This is her validation for suppressing and removing the rights and freedoms of the people within her province.
I was wondering, it's a two-parter. I was wondering if you could tell me how much rain, what is the amount of rain that we've had this year, and what's the difference between last year and this year, and what's the average? And there are people who say that they're losing their right to walk in the woods because of these restrictions, and it almost seems like the latest cultural obsession. And I was wondering what do you have to say to people who have all this universal anger all of a sudden toward this this plea, this request from the government to keep out of the woods?
Well, I'll leave the historical rain data. Maybe we can send that to you in a follow-up, because I think you're asking this year, past year averages, so we'll get that to you. But I do want to speak to the people who are frustrated by the notion of an inability to go hiking or fishing, and I understand that frustration. It's something that we all love to do as New Brunswickers, is to get out into the woods and to do that with our family, our friends, our pets, and otherwise. And the notion that me going for a walk in the woods is going to cause a fire, I can understand why people think that that's ridiculous. But the reality is, it's not that you might cause a fire. It's that if you're out there walking in the woods and you break your leg, we're not going to come and get you, because we have emergency responders that are out focused on a fire that is threatening the lives of New Brunswickers.
So the paramedics are out flying planes and dumping water, people. There's no paramedics because they're all pilots and they're all, flying choppers and forget about any ambulances running, because the ambulances right now the doors are taped and they're full of water because they're out dumping water on forest fires.
And if you take your boat out fishing in a pond in Crown Land and you capsize, we're not going to be able to come and help you out because our first responders are focused on an immediate and serious threat to our province. And so it's the possibility of diverting emergency resources away from where they are really needed, which is why we're asking New Brunswickers. This is something we're asking them to do. There are private woods where you can do what you want in New Brunswick, but we're asking you to make the safe choice for our first responders, for your neighbors, and for our woods. We can do that on the public lands that the government has authority over, and we're asking you to recognize that, yes, you want to go for a walk in the woods. Okay, well, there's a lovely walk just nearby that doesn't threaten our first responders and our response to a dozen fires in this province that are getting worse by the day, and we need to keep our trails clear, our roads clear. We need to have as minimal barriers to the effective delivery of firefighting and to putting these out as possible. So it is an ask. We are asking New Brunswickers, please find somewhere else to walk with your friends and family right now so that we can keep the risk of having to care for you in those places that are hard for us to reach, while we care for the people whose homes may be under threat in Irishtown, for the people that are experiencing fires outside the Miramichi and Bathurst.
Now, I've been to these areas years ago, mind you. I would imagine there's probably a lot more people there than when I was there. A lot of them were almost considered remote, windy roads to little towns, surrounded by houses pushed off in the distance in the bush. So don't break your leg. Don't fall down in your house, seniors, because they're not coming for you. Not a single thing she said makes any sense or has any logistical reality to it. Roads during fires are usually, and they better be, posted and taped off, because if you go down that road, you're going to drive into a fire. So what is she talking about? The only reason they haven't set any rules or fines on private land is because they can't, but they're working on it, which on previous episodes I've shown. They were even asked why. Now, I'm going to post a link to that. That was this presser where this numbskull.
Effective 4 p.m. today, we're telling Nova Scotians, stay out of the woods. We are restricting travel and activities that really aren't necessary for most of us. Hiking, camping, fishing, and the use of vehicles in the woods are not permitted. Trail systems through woods are off limits. Camping is allowed, but only in official campgrounds. The fine for violating any of these bans is the same as the fine for the ban on burning.
Now, tell me, what kind of, at what point does finding good people the same that you find bad people make any sense at all? So, you're going to take away all of our cars and driver's licenses because a drunk just killed another family? Are you going to ban spoons because they cause overweight? Obesity? At what point do you actually realize these people are completely insane, power hungry, feeding off fear, hate, and division, which is how they get into power? This is why we have some of the worst politicians in the history of our nation in these powerful positions. This is all part of the wokeness. This is scary totalitarian power that our media isn't doing their job. All of the propaganda media right now should be screaming that this goes against everything that it is to be Canadian and protected under our Constitution and Charter. But instead, they're pacifying it just like they did during Wuhan. It's disgusting. Now there's this guy, a veteran, not just a veteran, a individual who has been part of the military's whole life, has fought on many battlefronts, who was part of, yes, the scary Freedom Convoy, trying to protect our rights and freedoms, who came out first with a video of him showing the just stupidity of what they were classifying as the woods and not the woods. And with a lot of good organizations coming out who are challenging this totalitarian idealism that these provinces are enacting, he went one step further. I'm definitely going to give him the time he needs to show you the stupidity of our government. It's ridiculous.
Hey everybody, Jeff Evely here, out in Nova Scotia on Mountain Road in Coxheath. And as you can see behind me, this is the woods. But over here, this is not the woods. This is the Department of Natural Resources, where the conservation officers work, who issue $25,000 fines for going in the woods.
So, not bad. I'm Jeff Evely. I called earlier.
Evely?
Yeah, Evely. I spoke to somebody earlier.
Yeah.
About the woods ban.
Yep.
And I understand that you guys issue $25,000 fines right now for anybody who goes in.
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go in the woods over here.
Okay.
I don't want to make any trouble for you guys. Okay, I took this to court the last time they did it. They said I didn't have standing because I wasn't fined, so there was no money involved.
Okay.
So I want to challenge this order in court, and the only way for me to do that is to get the fine. So I'm not trying to make trouble for you guys. Okay, I just want a piece of Tim Houston, and I want to be as accommodating and nice as I can be. I'm just gonna.
Okay, so I'm ordering you to not.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I
That's
understand.
another.
Roger that.
I'm doubling fines right now.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right. So, yeah, he has to be in the woods.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a violation yet, so.
Well, they're very nearby. I thought instead of crossing the road, I would just go in the back here, just for safety purposes, and you know, we can do it like that. Does somebody want to follow me out there, or? And you know, yeah, it would be good to do a witness, and if it's okay with you, I would like to record a video. If you don't want to be on camera, I can keep you off it, but I think that it's in the interest of justice that we provide a fulsome record for the court because of the precedent-centered nature of this case. So I can keep you off camera, keep your name out of it, all that stuff, whatever works for you, but...
We'll be in court, so...
Yep, we'll be in court, so we might as well have a fulsome record, right?
We have to go in the woods.
Yes. Sure. You want to show me where the woods is out back?
This guy is an absolute gentleman. This man is, well, to me, and I'm sure my subscribers and viewing audience, a legend. For not only what he has done in his military, what he has done with the Freedom Convoy and other things throughout his life, which hopefully you follow him on X. These are the people that truly do hold government to account, that mainstream despises, because they're exposing and bringing to light what propaganda is hiding from you.
Back here. Or drive wherever you want.
We still have to suggest that we go.
I understand. Yeah, he just ordered me. He said he's gonna double my fine. Yeah, I'm gonna defy that order, nothing personal.
Okay, so whatever happens after you leave here.
Yeah. Nothing personal.
We
Okay.
we got that.
Okay.
So, one more time, this is the DNR office on Mountain Road in Coxneath, Nova Scotia, and this is not the woods. But back here, this is the woods. So, I have a couple of conservation officers with me right now who are not on camera but have advised me that if I go into the woods, if I defy their orders to go into the woods, then I will be fined, and they also said that they would double my fine to $50,000. So I'm going to walk down here and go into these woods. I don't know that there's a good spot to do this, but I'm just going to make this as painless as I can for those guys and go in here. And they have me on camera as well, walking in the woods. All right, isn't this great? And maybe there's an easier way out of here than I came in. Let's try this. We good? Okay. Okay. And I didn't ask, but did you write the ticket already, or?
Nope, we'll meet you back out front.
Back out front at the reception desk there? Okay, if I bring my camera, keep you guys off it?
Yep.
Okay. I'll see you in there, guys. Thank you. This is not the woods. Hi. I was just out back with the three gentlemen there. They said they would meet me back in here, so. She's gone to get them.
Now, I would assume that what's going on is there was obviously one guard, one conservation officer who was a bit of a dick. The one who said, "Well, we're gonna hit you with a $50,000 fine," and he's on the phone right now trying to find out, what do we do with this guy? Can I hit him? Can I hit him? He's probably the liberal of the three that were out there. And that's why they're making him wait. They're checking their P's and Q's. This is all going up the food chain, people. This is how corrupt our systems are. Now, I know the conservation officers have to do their job. But why are they hiding their faces? They shouldn't have to. They should be, if anything, voicing what they're supposed to do in an open and transparent society. But you got to remember, Jeff Evely, pure gentleman, didn't push him on it. Watch carefully.
So the order would have to go long form and put us off months in advance for court times. So we just do a SOT for entering the woods without forest travel permit when proclamation is effect. You have a court plea date. Your due date is the 12th of September. So it's a lot quicker, just the ticket. So
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So this
you
is,
want to go that to make it quicker.
okay, so this is an SOT, and that is for summons to accused. What is this?
Summary offense ticket for today's date. Your information, Forest Act 25 sub 1. Fine is $28,872.50.
Okay, I thought it was 25,000. It's 28,870.
Court costs, victim fees.
Taxes.
Oh, victim fees. Okay, sounds good. All right, thanks very much, gentlemen.
Victim fees.
I appreciate your courteous approach. Nice chatting with you. All right, take care.
Oh, this is still not the woods. So here we go. Oh, I take it here for, let's see if you can see that, $28,870.50 for victimizing somebody. Okay, so more to follow.
The idiocracy of all of this. Now, as far as I know, he's got 2 different institutions that are already willing to back him and take this to court. And he knows this, obviously. Let alone the fact that he'll probably get a lawyer and he'll win. And if he doesn't win, it proves that the judicial system isn't there for us. It's there for the government, which is a complete reversal of why the system of law was put in place and enshrouded within our Constitution and our Charter. They work in the reverse, which is what we're seeing happen to Tamara and Chris. You have people who are being released for, well, jabbing people, taking women and all the rest of it, and being released. Or time served after 8 months in jail, or given a year's probation. But they're using Tamara and Chris as weapons to put the fear of God, to put the fear of the power of government through the chilling bones of Canadians. This is what they're doing. This is why the West, we need out. This is getting beyond ridiculous. And this government, this liberal government, its silence is deafening. Its fact that it is doing absolutely nothing to help protect these people. They could change the federal laws. They could sentence people with illegal firearms to life in jail. You get caught transporting illegal firearms across the border, it's a life sentence for every weapon you get caught with. You want to see gun crime plummet and fall off the face of Canada? That's how you tackle it. You want to see arson drop off the face of Canada? This is what you do. You don't go after the innocent. You don't go after the good everyday people. That's what a real government would do. Like Mo, Daniel. And I think that's it. But don't worry. You have people like this who are on your CBC. Listen carefully, people. These are the sycophobes. The absolute, just worst of the worst fascist ideologists who don't care about freedom and equality that the media uses as their pundits, as their supposed conservative mouthpieces. These people are insane.
These fucking people, man. These fucking people who don't step foot in the woods, right? Who don't live there. And they don't have any practical experience with this. They decide that this is a nice National Review, modern MAGA argument that they want to elicit. Like, what's the defining characteristic of MAGA, of this whole sort of, post-COVID, pushback, conservative sort of thought line, small c conservative, whatever it is, all that convoy conservatism, right? It's selfishness. It's just undisguised selfishness. I want to fucking do it. I have no sense of community, no sense of obligation to my neighbors, family, friends. If it's what I want to do, well, then I'm a hero. Like, fuck you. We have obligations. We live in a society. If a place is on fire, we rally together to help them. You don't say, well, this is an abrogation of my rights. Like, just fuck right off to these people.
Yeah. Thank you, Tokyo Rosie, for posting that. Now, a few stats. This is the number of fires and the amount of area burned in Canada year by year. Now, A lot of people are posting other stats. I'm sorry, I'm here to give you the truth. Sorry, so sorry, just the truth. Just the facts. Yes, we have seen a record amount of loss. There's no doubt about that. But this stat cannot be allowed to overshadow the reality of the climate freaks that are out there that are purposely lighting fires to pass an agenda to try to convince Canada and the world, with the use of our federal government and their propaganda machine, that this is all human-caused climate change. No, it is not human-caused climate change. This is a chart. Annual fires in Canada. Check out the years. It has been in a steady decline. Our forests are being mismanaged, number one. And there's more evidence that is coming out that Guilbeault had a lot more responsibility than what I've previously exposed earlier episodes, people. I'm going over some of it. It has to be fact-checked before I put it out there. We have a serious problem. Mental health is one of them. And it's caused by propaganda, pushing and peddling the lies of their global elitists and the governments who fund them. The issue is not how to remove, how to stop the forest fires. The issue is removing fundamental rights and freedoms of people the way to do it. There are major studies out there showing a walk in the woods, a removal from the noise, the noise and light pollution of cities and towns, and the breathing of fresh air helps in so many ways, not only the mental health, but the physical well-being of individuals. This is a ploy done on purpose to keep Canada in a perpetual state of psychosis, because they know the best way to stay in power is through fear, hate, and division. This is what they do. This is their job. This is all they care about. Power and their own personal wealth. They don't care about you. They don't care. Now, I'm going to deal with this native land settlement in another episode. Like I said, I'm still reading the hundreds of pages, trying to make sense of what's going on. There have been previous settlements that were actually kind of a larger deal that have led us to where we are today. But like I said, that'll be on another episode. I need to just make sure that I read everything so I can give excuse me, so I can give my viewers the truth. Just the truth. Sorry, just the facts. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I apologize, the frog is back. Every time it seems I'm getting a little bit better, it gets worse. Anyways, until next time, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you are subscribed, punch the notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. If you enjoy our channel and you want to support us, you can do so by buying our clothing or merch. The link is attached in the description. if you can afford it, which I know we're in Canada, everybody's broke, but if you can afford a donation, you can do so as well by donating to CanadianCitizenJournal@gmail.com. Until next time, you've been watching the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias the Frog Throat Guy. Stay informed.